What are we going to do today? Well, I thought we'd go play with rocks. You've seen Dale and I use a lot of these type of rocks to complement the bonsai and as we finish it up. But there are other uses that I want to share with you today. What you see here is typically what I would bring back down in the creek. I have a creek in the back of my property. Actually, I don't own it, but my neighbor, he owns it, and he lets me go down there and use his road. Because, well, from my property down to the stream or the creek is about 50 feet, and it's almost straight up. And it's very tiresome to lug my pump up and down in need for the seasonal watering. Okay, when we bought the property, this is the creek down here, and that's what it looked like. From this water line to the top is about 50 feet. And about 20 feet up, there is a little plateau where we used to set our pump and then draw the water up, right? And actually, there was a fence here. And what happened was one year, there was a tremendous rain, record-breaking rain. And what happened was the water came all the way up. So anyway, visualize this as being a fence, a barbed wire fence, and I saw a fish stuck in it. So the water came up this high. Yeah, at the time, this was deep. It's more than 6 feet, I think 7 or 8 feet deep and narrow. And then when the storm came, it washed off all this. Okay, so now it looks more like this. This must be 100, 150 feet wide from used to be here, right? And then, so it's very shallow and very wide. And this is full of these gravel or the rocks. And the thing is, every year it shifts. So some area is like this. There's a area where the gravel, and then it splits off in 2 directions. I seen it like this. This last year was good. So this is my pump. And then I only had a short distance to draw the water. Versus other times when this whole thing was over here, I had to have this really long pipe to suck up the water. So the point I'm trying to make is I have a creek or a stream that is inconsistent. But because of all that movement, all these rocks, I get fresh new batch every time there is a very heavy storm. And this year we got a lot of water movement. So what I'm looking forward to is in the spring, well, every time I go down there, it's like a big surprise. So when I go down to the creek, I just pick up a bucket full. My small tractor holds about a quarter yard, maybe a third of a yard at a time. And then when I bring it back, I dump it and then put it on these carts that have a screen so that I could see what I have to work with. So that's what I've been doing for, most of my life. Well, before I had to carry it down, so I wasn't going to carry these rocks up the hill. But since my next door neighbor put the road down to the creek, and he lets me use it, so I've been having a wonderful time bringing all these rocks back without physical labor. I usually put the irrigation pump just for our orchard and the surrounding garden area because most of the time I'm using well water for my nursery, but there's not enough to water the perimeter. So anyway, that's what I do is probably about May or so, depending on the year, I bring my pump down there and install it. Oh yeah, in the past, I have tried to leave it there, and I have lost 2 pumps because the flood came and it washed away. And each time it's like $1,500, probably more like $2,000 now. So I go down in the fall, take it out, bring it back, and then go back and reinstall. Anyway, that's the story behind these rocks. I have access to a lot of rocks that people have to go searching for. Here's a couple of rocks here. Now, there is Dr. Johnson down the street. He's a, well, now retired archaeologist, but he was saying this type of rock where it's slightly discolored and then, you know, this pitting is probably for cooking. Remember our elementary school when we were studying the Native Americans? They wove the baskets tight so it's your whole water, and they heated these rocks and then threw them in. And I think that's what these are. Not 100%, but I think based on what Dr. Johnson was telling me, I think that's it. I'm no professional, that's for sure. I just like rocks. You know, a lot of these, you've seen Dale and I use these for decorative purposes, for complementing the bonsai, right? Well, but one of the things that I think is this might have been one of the tools. What happens is this part here is very natural, but there's a very slick surface that they might have been rubbing things on. Okay, once again, I'm no expert, so that's just my guess. But I feel that there's a lot of stuff down there that fits the hand. See, this one here holds, when you hold it like that, it feels comfortable. And then, so if you take something and rub against there, then it could have been the lower part. But that's just my guess. So for hundreds of years, there was Indian or Native American population here. And Dr. Johnson was saying there was 2 sets. The more modern one was the Maidu tribe. And then he calls the other one prehistoric. And I guess there's a little bit less knowledge about them, but he was explaining to me how the working tools were slightly different. But all this is not what I'm making this video about. I think right now there's a lot of people wanting to stack rocks, right? You know, it's not the easiest thing to do either. Well, so it's all about the balance and then see how high you could go, which is, I think, is a good thing. It's a mental process and everything else. But what I wanted to do was take the same concept, but apply it to the Japanese garden. Okay, this is just stacked rock, except that it sort of goes with the Japanese garden and the lantern. So basically, it has the base, the collar, the lighted area, cap, and the crown on top, right? So that's what I've been trying to do. Okay. So now let's say this is down in the creek, and you got to walk through this water and have to look for these parts. It's a very hit and miss, long-term process. That's why when I bring that tractor load, I have all these options. And what I have to do is, when I have a little bit of time, try to get these sort of hand selected, and then we'll have future projects. Okay, so here's one that I did a while ago. And what I did was I cemented it, because these they fall apart. So what's Hiro trying to say? Well, remember I was saying that I'm trying to get out of this bonsai business and slide into something else. Well, I was thinking more towards some art form using these rocks. Here's another slightly different approach, more angular rock, different colors. And then, what we looked at before. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking. So as I clear out my plant inventory, I have more time to do this, right? Well, I want to slide into this, but it's one of those things, it's like my bonsai. It's not like there's a wholesaler that will sell me things that I could resell. So that I'm gonna have to start gearing up now, gather up enough stuff for 3 years from now. I'm thinking about 3 years from now that I would have to set up a different business. So here's another idea I've been playing with. Take a bigger rock and then drill the hole to represent the water basin, and then maybe add a bamboo in here, right, to the water spigot, and then build the lantern here, so that one presentation will give you the vignette of a Japanese garden. Well, I understand the Japanese aesthetics, but the other thing that's happening is there's people that believe in the power of a certain stone, right? Healing and things like that. So as I get around to learning a little bit more, if I could figure out how incorporate that concept into this concept. So I've been buying rocks from here and there, these polished ones. So these polished ones will be anti-Japanese approach, because you don't use, artificially manufactured like this, especially when it's slick and shiny. But that won't stop me, right? So anyway, I'm playing with a lot of different concepts, and maybe in 3 years, I'll have something to offer you. So anyway, all these new ideas, it starts with a bold and sometimes crazy ideas. It's a matter of, can I make it work? I think we covered the subject of suiseki, or viewing stones. And then, when you bring back enough rocks, sometimes you just find things that will be decent suiseki. This one here, I really like that feature that looks like there's a waterfall in there, right? So, is this a great suiseki? No, it's not great, but it's good at start. So, this one here was really dirty. And then I've been scrubbing, and this one has the potential to become something better, because it was caked with mud. And then I've been taking the brush, but it's so caked on that it's taking a while. But see, parts of it is quartz, so that I might have top here that might become a snow cap. So, and then this one, I don't know, it may be, maybe not. So anyway, that's what you do, is when you have a bucket full of rocks, you filter them out, and to see what kind of interesting subjects you could make. We're taking a relatively young plant and then try to make it feel old and big, and so that it represents something more than it actually is. And suiseki is the same thing. It has the power to suggest much more than just a piece of rock. So we find rocks that remind you of this mountain that you climbed or you saw in the distance or something like that. That's what a good suiseki is. Okay, so anyway, back to what I'm trying to do. So I'm thinking in 3 years, I would hopefully be out of most of my plant inventory. Then I want to get into this. And these could be stored, so I could go away for weeks at a time. And then also I'll be selling these online. Unfortunately, the part that is going to be the tough part is I'm going to have to figure out how to set up a website, because, well, by the time you get somebody to do it for you, it takes too long, because all my things are individually made, right? So that I can't just post it and then there'll be a dozen about the same thing. So each one will be posted differently, each one will have a different price, and so I have to figure out how I could set that website up and get it running. So it'll give me 3 more years. I have a wild idea. My granddaughter, Mia, she's 9, but she's all gung-ho about this, so I said, maybe Gigi. Gigi's my name. Well, Gigi is Japanese for granddad. So anyway, she and I are talking. She goes, Gigi, you know how easy to set up a website? Do this, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and I'm blown away. I said, okay. And she said, I need a computer. Well, no problem, I'll give you a computer. But anyway, one way or another, I think we have to have exact control of this site. And it looks like things are getting easier to set up your own little shops, but I gave myself 3 years to build up my inventory and build up my knowledge and get that going. So by then I'll be able to sell these and then have enough so that, you know, after 2 weeks of selling it, I run out of inventory. So anyway, that's some more of Hiro's crazy ideas. So as I tried to get out of the bonsai plant business, I'm going to slide into something like this. So wish me luck, and maybe you shouldn't hold your breath. You might turn blue. Okay, so this is Hiro saying goodbye. I'll see you again real soon.